Thank you so much for being here today. My name is Jennifer Fry, and I am the CEO and founder of Appreciated Asset Business Solutions. And welcome to our Disruptor Discussions Masterclass, where we are featuring the brilliant Whitney McDuff. And I'm so excited for you guys to meet Whitney and learn all of the brilliance that she has to share. Before we get started with Whitney's presentation, I will share with you guys a little bit about what's going on over here at Appreciated Asset. So as you guys know, a lot of you have been here before. We are here, we create, build, and fill sales pipelines for industry disruptors at Appreciated Asset. And we do that through our primary service, which is called our Sales Accelerator. That's where we set new business appointments for our clients with their prospect wish list. We work in the guise of helping, our mission is to help businesses grow, create ripple effect for amazing business solutions and really helping them expand their footprint. And starting the Disruptor discussions we did a few months ago was really to create another stage to highlight other people who are helping businesses grow within their own expertise and their own solutions. So without further ado, I'm going to hand things over to Whitney in a moment here, and I'm going to read you her bio, which is super impressive. But before I do, I am going to share a story with you guys. This is one of my favorite stories. You can start patrolling while we do this. Gotta love working from home. All right. So Whitney and I met probably about 10 years ago, right?
Been a long time, yeah.
On a cold call. I cold called Whitney. And I'm going to get to why, like one of the billion reasons that she's so incredible. But I cold called Whitney. She was doing marketing for a company at the time. We hit it off, not just for why I was calling, but for so many other reasons, and became pretty much instant friends. We had so many commonalities, and more have developed throughout the years. And at the time, we were both employees, and have also grown our businesses as entrepreneurs together over the last 6-7 years, and really been each other's biggest cheerleaders, which I appreciate so deeply. But I'm going to tell you why this whole meeting her through a cold call is so important for you to know. I've built my business around cold calling because I truly believe that cold calling is the fastest, most effective way to build rapport with your prospect wish list. When I reached out to Whitney, she was warm, kind, thoughtful, respectful, curious, all of the things that you want in a person. And the thing that I want everyone to know about cold calling, because it really is something that is so important to me in my business, clearly, is that we tell each other a lot of stories about what cold calling is, and it's a waste of time, or people hang up, and you just leave voicemails, whatever. And some of that is true some of the time. Sometimes some of that is true a lot of the time, depending on the day. However, if you approach this method of outreach with curiosity and without telling yourself stories, if someone doesn't call you back, it's because they're not interested, or if someone doesn't call you back, it's because what you have isn't good. You're absolutely limiting yourself, because there are people out there like Whitney that making that cold call will change the trajectory of your life. And truly for me, and I think in some ways for Whitney as well, that call did change a lot of things for both of us in directions. So I really want to kind of leave you with that and hopefully inspire you to reach out to people, create connection, introduce yourself, and rather than selling anyone anything, simply reach out, introduce yourself, and educate people about who you are and how you might be able to help them. Whitney says it all the time that you are one idea, one introduction, one referral away from a completely different life. And I will add to that, you are one phone call away from a completely different life. So, Whitney, thank you for being one of my many success stories, but one of my very favorite success stories. Okay, so we met through a cold call. I'm going to get off my soapbox here. You guys, we met through a cold call. We started this entrepreneurial journey, and about 4 years ago, Whitney was killing it. Her business was like taking off. And instead of me saying, I'm going to figure this out myself and just reinvent the wheel, I reached out to Whitney and I said, I can tell you're killing it. And not in a way that she was being boastful, but she was really on fire and in a beautiful way. And I said, just tell me, what are you doing? Because I'm going to do that. Just tell me what you're doing. And rather than Whitney like holding it close to the chest and being evasive or being like, hoarding her own contacts, she was like, this is exactly what I'm doing. She introduced me to her business coach that I hired. She introduced me to a networking group that I joined. And I think it just speaks volumes to who she is as a person and who we really all should be to elevate each other. You don't have to hold someone else down so that you can rise. And she absolutely lives her life that way. And I adore you. Okay, I will stop with the waxing on you. Here we go.
I'm so flattered, and I feel the same way about you. I'm so happy to be here. I love that you started this. I love that you're having these conversations, and I'm just honored that you have pulled me in to talk about how to get people more visible, because you and I both know that you can't help people who don't know what you do. So
Exactly.
let's get into it.
I'm going to read this bio. Whitney McDuff is a public speaker's secret weapon. She works with purpose-driven leaders to build visible, credible, and profitable brands through public speaking and PR. As the founder of Whitney McDuff Consulting and the Witter Group, she is an award-winning PR strategist and best-selling author. I have some of those books. I have all of them. With clients showcased on stages around the world and recognized by Forbes, ABC, NBC, CBS, Marvel, ESPN, Newsweek, USA Today, and the Huffington Post. She guides purpose-driven leaders to create measurable and meaningful impact through the power of their story. Whitney is also the author of 2 best-selling children's books, The Lolly Tree and Where the Lollies Go. You can check her out at whitneymcduff.com. And her books are amazing. Oh my gosh. What don't you do? I'm going to hand things over to Whitney, you guys. She's going to share with us how to create visibility in your business and why that is so important to grow your business and bring in more revenue. So take it away, my
friend. Jen, if people are popping in with questions, just throw a hand
put them
up
in the chat, please. Guys, if you have questions, please put them in the Q&A section, and I will make sure to get to those after her presentation.
Love it. Okay, let's get rolling here. I'm not a tech person, so bear with me. All right, let me see our screen. Beautiful. We got a lot to cover, so let's get into it. All right. So the first question we have is, how would your brand, business, and bank account change if you were the most visible person in your space? And like I just mentioned to Jen, we have to get over this mentality that we are being boastful or annoying if we are talking about what we do and who we can help, because we can't help people that don't know what we do. So that is my role. My company was founded because I fundamentally believe that if you have a story or a skill set that can change somebody's life, I think it is your duty to share that thing. The reason we don't typically comes down to these 3 things. Tall poppy syndrome, right? So we become afraid that if we rise too high, we're going to get cut off by the lawnmower, right? With visibility can come criticism and things like that. And people tend to not like that. So we work a lot on navigating through that. Misunderstanding the power of a personal brand. I don't care what business you are in. Every single day, the sale that you are actually making is yourself. And having a powerful personal brand is the fastest and most effective way to create trust. And at the end of the day, everything that matters, at least, comes down to the business of relationships. The way that you show up, the way that you talk, the way that you display your core values, the people that you engage with, the things that you consume, all of that is saying something instantly to the person in front of you. So, taking time to curate and think about your personal brand is an essential piece in having a successful business. The second thing is failure to leverage opportunities and think about them in a way that can benefit you. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today, but I believe there is opportunity in everything. So I want to shift your mindset a little bit. You don't have to be on the cover of Forbes for visibility to make a difference in your life. And there can be seemingly very small opportunities that can turn into life-changing experiences. Jen just mentioned one earlier. Number three is lack of time and knowledge of how to. Here's the deal. The PR industry benefits a lot from making you believe that they're like the Wizard of Oz. Only I have access to these things, to these opportunities. That is not true. We're going to go through what that really looks like so that you can start doing PR for your business and getting more visible and helping more people, because that's what this whole game is about. Who can we help in an effective way? So we're going to get into the personal brand. For me, it comes down to four pillars: being valuable, always leading with valuable, always leading with being valuable with someone, and leading with service is such a huge thing. Being authentic. The era of the guru and perfection is over. That's really good news because we don't need a whole lot to make some impact in the space that we're in. The other part of this is because people are so visible all day, every day with social media and all of these things, people sniff out inauthenticity immediately. It is such a turnoff. So you deserve to build a personal brand that is aligned with who you really are. Being memorable. How are people talking about you when you leave a space? We'll get more into that in a second. And being referable. When I was in my 20s, I had a job in healthcare and could not understand why I was not getting business. I had amazing relationships with everyone around me. We would go on vacation together. My manager at the time came with me, spent the day with me, and said, Whitney, like everybody loves you, but you don't ask for the business. Like it was such a like mind-blowing thing. Are we referable to other people and are we asking those questions that we need to be asking to get more business? So this is going to be a little different than other speakers, I imagine, but I want everybody to take out their phones because we are going to have a couple of lists here that I want you to be able to refer to after this conversation. I'm happy to send them along in PDFs as well. This is your toolkit for visibility. This is the whole gamut of everything that's happening. Your bio, a couple different things that applies to everyone, whether you're a speaker or not. You need to lead with PR and accomplishments. So for instance, instead of saying Whitney McDuff is XYZ, we would say recognized by ABC, NBC, CNN, Whitney McDuff is XYZ. That instant authority build is critical. And I'm going to teach you some ways to start building that kind of stuff in your bio so that you can show up the way that you deserve every single time. Pitching. Pitching is so important. We get consumed with what we think pitching should be. Pitching is a very short process and it shows that you know how to do two things: help a journalist or a podcast host or a conference create content that their audience is going to love. And the other part of that is to help them grow their audience. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. Media pitching, national press releases, your media boilerplate. A boilerplate is essentially a summary of who you are that goes at the bottom of everything that you do. A press release is something that I would very, very strongly recommend that you execute on as a business leader. It can be an idea, it can be an announcement. We'll talk about that in a little bit as well. Um, podcasting. Podcasting is one of the fastest ways to grow your personal brand and get people familiar with your content. There are two sides to this coin when you are going after media. One is getting in front of new audiences, right? The second is familiarizing your own sphere with what you are talking about and where you are looking to speak and be visible. We have a tendency to think that we're talking too much about something or to assume that everyone knows what our expertise is. I'm telling you right now, they don't. So I want you talking all the time, whether it's social media or your newsletter or in conversations. Remind people all the time about what you're doing and what you're passionate about and who you're passionate about helping. Your speaker landing page, guys, it's 2024. If we've got LinkedIn profiles that look like they're from 1982 and we don't have an online presence, we've got some problems. We're going to have to move into having an online presence because the internet is branding you and you deserve to take charge of what that brand looks like when people search you online. A speaker kit, we had an example of a speaker kit. There's a client, but this is a really great way. It's a marketing tool. It's not a pitching tool. It's a wonderful thing to get together to send to your sphere and say something like, hey, everybody, I've got a goal of speaking 12 times this year. This is where I would love to speak. This is who I love to influence. Who do we know? Your own sphere is such an untapped resource for speaking and visibility opportunities. And we want to give them everything that they need to understand who you are and who you help. And then we've got a speaker reel. Underneath seeing someone speak in person, a speaker reel is the best way to get energy across. And that's what this is meant to do. You do not have to have 50 speaking engagements under your belt to have a powerful speaker reel. You need a good editor. And what we want to go for is what can we expect when you show up in the room? What kind of energy are you bringing? What are you standing for? How have people engaged with you? These are the kind of things that we capture in a speaker reel that don't require 50 film keynotes to get. So if you have more questions about that, I'd love to talk to you about that. People get people get really intimidated about creating one of those, and it's such an incredible asset that you don't need a lot to have. So how public relations works. Visibility is the most important thing in your business. I said it earlier, you cannot help people that don't know what you do. Here are three of the main ways that we get people in the media that you can start thinking about today and reach out to the journalists in your area or in your space. The first one is going to be a list. People love lists. So the top 5 things you need to know buying a house post COVID, the top 10 things that you're doing wrong when you're cold calling. Think about what's going on in your industry and your expertise and create a list and send it to that journalist as an idea. A pitch is simply an idea to work on with the journalist together. So we've got our list. The next one is what we call press jacking. That is applying your expertise to something that is already very hot in the media. So thinking about something like, I don't know, what's hot in the media right now, Jen? Uh,
Well, we had a colleague that did one based off of that graduation speech that went viral, right?
yes. Wonderful. Yes. Think about what's going on related to your space and how can you utilize that for content in social media for an idea to pitch a journalist. So we've got the list, we've got press jacking, and then we've got what we call brick through the window content, which is essentially everything you know about XYZ is wrong. Well, to use Jen as an example, everything you know about cold calling is wrong and position yourself as that expert who's bucking the system and what everybody's talking about, those things are much more likely to be picked up than any other kind of pitches that are going to journalists. All right, we're moving right along. Okay. Where do I find speaking and visibility opportunities? I want you to grab your phone again because this is going to be a really great list for you and your teams to go through. We need to start by asking the right question. I hear literally every day of my life, I want to speak more. That's awesome. They recognize visibility is a piece of their brand. Incredible. They're not giving enough specificity. Who are you wanting to speak to? What audience is going to move the needle in your business and your brand? The more lasered in you can get around that, the more effective your pitches are going to be, the more likelihood you're going to be chosen, and the more impact it's going to have in your business. So don't just tell people, I want to speak more. Be specific. Say, I'm really looking to speak to women's groups who make six figures or more, who are struggling with imposter syndrome. That is very specific, and you suddenly become much easier to refer when you make the ask like that. Okay, so take out your phones, a couple of key ones here. Your own network is going to be your most untapped resource. It always is. When I work with clients, we send out that ask email, right? With their speaker kit. Hey, I've got a goal. I want to speak 10 times this year. Get specific about the type of groups, get specific about the impact that you make, and then it goes from there. The people that are in your sphere want to help you. You have to give them the information to be able to do that. Um, a couple of other key things here. Utilizing hashtags. We're all on social media every day. I want you to start searching things like, we're down here in Charleston, you know, Charleston Marketing Conference, Charleston Women's Event. Utilize these hashtags for what you're searching for. That's a really free, easy way to get some speaking opportunities that you may not have known about before. A couple of other things, Google alerts. Every single day, I have Google alerts drop into my inbox. The things that I want you to search for. Call for speakers. Whatever your industry is, and conference. Get these things easily in your inbox and see if there's a fit. DMCs is a destination management company. These are incredible for creating contacts in the space of people who actually book speakers for events. And your competition. So this is a secret thing that I do for clients to figure out pricing and where to find events. I want you to go Google who your competition is. So let's say you're in the field of leadership. I want you to Google who the top leadership speakers are, whether it's in your area, national, wherever you want to speak. On the Speakers Bureau, they're going to have pricing, right? So let's say they're between $5,000 and $15,000. Go look at where they spoke. That's giving you a lot of information. One, that those companies where they spoke have a budget for speakers. So if you are in that zone where you're like, I'm tired of speaking for free, I really want to get paid, this is one of the best ways to create your list to do that. You're going to see a list of companies that are paying for speakers, and you know that they're interested in the same kind of content that you talk about. So get zoned in and think about where is going to be the best place to move the needle for your business. Here is a list right now. If you want to take another picture, these are the top groups that hire speakers. Your military is going to be the hardest one to penetrate. Corporations and associations and organizations have lots of events going on, so always look into that. And then your universities and your high schools. High schools are such an untapped resource, particularly if you're moving into the speaker market. I'm sorry, I'm hearing my kids downstairs. Get zoned in and think about what's going to move the needle for you and practice that content at high schools, on podcast interviews. These are really great places to build your repertoire for speaking. This is a literal checklist. Please take a picture of this. When Jen mentioned that she asked, what am I doing? There's 2 pages of this, and I want to go over a couple of key ones. Um, this is literally what I do all day long. So, does my personal brand align with who I am? These are the questions that you want to be asking yourself. Under Be Valuable, you understand your own value. You walk into every room and every interaction with an energy. You need to be confident in who you are and what you know. People are attracted to that. We have to show up with the energy that, like, you want to be there. Nobody wants to engage with someone who seems half distracted, who isn't really into what's going on. Be present for people. That stuff matters. Another key one I want to go over in this list. Um, a great networking tip that will help build your personal brand. Instead of asking people, what do you do? Ask them what brought you here. That's a very small change that can make a very big difference. When you ask someone what they do, they immediately go on the defensive, like they have to expand on their worthiness to be in the room. Asking what brought you here immediately calms everybody down. It lets you know what they're looking for, what they need, how you can help them. Again, we're always leading with service. And it makes you a better connector. And the better connector you are, better connected you're going to become to opportunities that you need as well. One of the greatest networking tricks, it's not really a trick, but things that I learned to do very early on, and it changed the trajectory of my life, was I show up first to events. So I am meeting people one on one. I know everyone that comes in the door. I now know who to connect them to everyone that I met earlier. Y'all, this is a game changer. And it sounds so easy and obvious, but people don't do it. Please show up first, connect people to the people, the resources, the ideas that they need. You're going to leave that room and be seen as an authority, a connector, someone that everyone needs to know. And that is going to be critical in differentiating yourself in your space. On Be Referable, there's a couple obvious ones here. Follow up with people. We are so busy. One of the things around your personal brand that I want you to think about, what's happening with your email signature? That it seems like such a minor thing, but there are hundreds of people that are seeing that a week. Is your email signature aligned with who you are? Does it give people the resources they need to be able to refer you? That is such easy real estate to take over and help your personal brand. The second page of this list, a couple ones I want to go over. Authenticity. This is absolutely number one. Do I have headshots that match my personality? This is a true story. I was in line to take on a pretty significant client, and it came down to me and someone else. And the owner ended up selecting me. And the reason that he did, he said, I was just going through your stuff and your pictures look great. You look like you were more fun to work with. Like, I won a 5-figure contract because of photography, because it was aligned with who I am. I am not a very serious person. I love to have fun. It's another way to show up online the way that you would in person. My standards are clear. It's another one in being authentic. Who you associate with and what you will tolerate goes a long way in business. And you want to be very clear on what your standards are. I have a hard and fast rule. I'm a mother of 2 young children. My children are the loves of my life. I'm off at 2:30. There's an away message that pops up that essentially says, love you, mean it. If this is an emergency, here's the cell, but it's probably not. So I'll see you tomorrow. When I first put that up, I was so scared that I was going to lose clients. What happened was respect skyrocketed, and my time became perceived as more valuable because I valued it. So think about those things and standards in your life that you want to implement and make those very clear. Getting visible. I'm easy to find on social platforms. Consistency here is so huge. Online brand real estate are the things where you're showing up online. I don't care if you're using these platforms or not. You need to have a consistent name across Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, and TikTok. Whether you use them or not is not the issue here. You need to have ownership over your own name because you never know what's going to happen with your brand in 6 months, 3 years, and you certainly don't want to have to go back and mess with all that later. You also need to own your web name. So WhitneyMcDuff.com is what I own. If that were already taken, I would have do a name that's related to my field. So I would say something like WhitneyMcDuffSpeaks.com. And that would become my handle for everything on social. You need to be easy to find. All right. So let's talk about getting visible. Again, you can't help people who don't know what you do. We're about working smarter, not harder. And you've got everything you need. Once you have that brand kit in place that we discussed earlier on that slide, this should only take about an hour a week. The key here is to get specific about who you want to talk to. And I'm looking forward to specific questions around this. But I want you to think about everything in this way. How can I make the person sitting across from me, the person that I want to book me for this event, the person that I want to publish an article that mentions me, how do you make them look like the hero for doing that? A couple of quick things that you can do today. Send a referral for someone else. If you've got a journalist that you're interested in working with, and you've got a really badass person in your network that you know would be a great fit for something she worked on last week, make that introduction. This comes down to relationships, and people hire people that they trust. So if you are showing up the same way, the same energy all of the time, you are going to be trusted and you are going to be the one that goes the distance at the end of the day. So, one of the things that we do because we work so much with speakers, and we want to make things easy for everybody, is we started a membership that delivers things to your inbox. So we can talk about that later if you want. But I just want to reiterate to everyone the imposter syndrome that you may be feeling around getting visible. One, it never goes away. Two, it's going to happen at every level. And three, one of the greatest pieces of advice I ever received in my life was from a client who is an imposter syndrome expert. She works with Fortune 100 coaches. And she said, Whitney, if you are not feeling imposter syndrome all the time, it's because you're not playing big enough. I urge you to do things, step into the rooms, send the emails, say the things that make you feel uncomfortable because you are here, you are in business because you want to help change people's lives. And visibility is the key to doing that. So I just wish everyone the best. I want to see you all over the place on social, on TV, on stage, everywhere you need. And yeah, let's get into some specific questions if there are any.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was so good. And if anyone again has questions, please put them in the Q&A section. But I will start. Whitney, you answered my questions before I had a chance to formally ask you, but which is amazing. But I really want to make sure that we really reiterate those three areas because I've been doing this for a few months now, and the best feedback we get is about really the third question about implementable steps. So I really want to make sure we drive these home. But in terms of how your solution brings more revenue into a business, like directly, right? I love what you say about the credibility and how speaking gives you credibility to be the expert in your field. So why don't you touch on that?
Yeah. there's a reason that they say advertising is what you pay for and PR is what you pray for. And that reason is that credibility piece. When someone else is pulling you on a stage, on an interview, in a newspaper, whatever it may be, in front of a group of people, it is subconsciously saying to everyone in that room, this is the person that is the authority in this space. This is the person who I can trust to get me from point A to point B.
Right.
And that is such a critical piece of differentiating yourself in business. So you want to take the time to get in front of people and create that trust, right? At the end of the day, this all comes down to trust, who you choose to hire. That's it. And if you see someone constantly pulled up as an authority in something, you're going to say, "Oh wow, that that's that's my girl. Like that's who I want to work with." I mean, they clearly know what's going on. Everybody else trusts them. And don't feel like you don't deserve to be in that space. I want to be real clear about like I hate the smoke and mirrors of PR and all that good stuff. If you think like, oh, I can't nominate myself for that award, that's got to be somebody else. No. Like your job is to get in front of people so you can help them. And anything that helps you do that is totally fine. Like don't let your ego get in the way of that because you want to ultimately get in front of people you can help. That's why you are in business.
Yeah, I say this a lot when I talk to sales teams. And I
Mhm.
say, you have a solution that can help people. What you do matters. It's your responsibility to
Yes.
reach out and let them know. And so we absolutely are so aligned there because it truly is.
Mhm.
If you do believe in what you have,
Mhm.
you have to tell people and you have to
Yeah.
let them know. Um, I'm going to ask you how you're a disruptor in your space, but I'm going to set this up for you for a minute. So, you guys being a disruptor, I've talked about this in other master classes that we've done, but it's really about someone who is going to stand out from the status quo, someone who's going to deliver service in a way that's so superior to the competition that you're rendering them irrelevant. But I also want to take that a step further today because being a disruptor, it's about getting your value across that has nothing to do with being 5% cheaper or 10% faster. We do a lot of messaging and value proposition for our clients. And, you know, talking about pricing or speed, thing is what that does is it gets you transactions and it will get you closes, but it will not build you relationships. And the way to grow and scale a business is through really strong relationships, just like you were saying. So being a disruptor is about providing value service that is like beyond what the status quo is in that industry. Well, it's always been done this way. So, well, this is how everyone does it. This is what everyone's used to. And until someone else comes by and does it better. Right. And that's us. So, my question for you with that setup is how are you a disruptor in this space? What are you doing that's beyond status quo?
People have said this to me, and it's very flattering, but I often joke, no, nobody cares more than me. Like, I want to know who you are as a person. I love my clients. I deal with very vulnerable spaces. It takes a lot of courage to put your story or your skill set out into the world and share that with people. Like, I have such a deep appreciation for that. And I think that comes across. So, again, there's that trust thing. I live my brand the way that I show up in person, online. It is incredibly consistent. So, I think that's good. And, you and I were speaking about this earlier. We are in a world where people are obsessed with vanity metrics.
Mm.
That's not it. Like it is mattering less and less and less. If you don't have the personal brand that can convert people, I don't care if you've got 500 followers, those people are sometimes more successful than someone with 500,000 because they have built a brand and an audience that people trust and they can convert those people. We saw this happen with Instagram a few years ago, and we see it happen with influencers sometimes. They'll, release a product or start a restaurant or something, and they have 4 million followers and everybody thinks it's great, and then it bombs. Well, it bombed because they don't have a real relationship with their audience, and their audience doesn't care and they don't trust them. So if you are looking for vanity metrics, that's amazing. There's 1,000 companies that can do that. But if you are looking for real impact and moving the needle, you've got to focus on the authenticity and trust piece. And I think we rock the house in that.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. Last question. And you talked about this. That checklist was amazing. So thank you. And anyone else, you guys, if you didn't get those screenshots, make sure to reach out. We've got all Whitney's contact information in the chat. I love that. I mean, my question is, what's the one thing we can do today to drive more revenue for our business? I'm going to say it's this checklist, right? What
Yeah.
can we check off the checklist? What can we
Yeah.
put together? Wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Yeah. I would grab that checklist and I'm happy to, send that over as a PDF. It is truly the list of things that I think about all the time. There are so many little things that you can do that will get you across the finish line. And thinking about how can I be memorable? How can I be of service? From everything in how you speak in your emails to what you dress like. I mean, as Jen knows, like I always come in a statement necklace. But here's the thing about that. I'm always in a statement necklace. I'm always have red lips. That's just kind of the thing that I love. I love that. So it's authentic to me. I feel confident and beautiful when that's happening. So there's an authenticity piece there. And also, every single person is describing me the same way when I leave the room.
Mhm.
And so it's thinking about that, like, okay, how are we showing up here for people? The other thing that I would say, it is on that list, but I want to expand on it. Your ability to celebrate other people is such a life ROI and business ROI thing. Jesse Itzler, who's a very famous speaker, he displayed something that he does, and I started incorporating it in my life, and it was such a game changer. So I'll tell you now, um, every day, 5 people he reaches out to. It could be a text, a call, an email, a Hogwarts pigeon. I mean, it could be any of those things. But he either compliments, consoles, congratulates, and the fourth one I added is connects them. It takes 4 minutes to do that. You think about the impact that that has in your life and the lives around you. Like it's just you can't even measure it. So I really want to encourage you to start that today. Who are do 3 people? Who are the 3 people that I can reach out to and just say, hey, like thinking about you. Really appreciated when you did this. It's a game changing thing.
It is. And I love that. And I think that connects also, and that's something that was on your checklist I saw. It's like, who can you connect? And it's, I always talk about how can you be a resource to
Yeah.
people? How can every interaction that you have create value for someone else? Because
Mhm.
by doing that, by putting that out there, you're growing and strengthening that relationship. So I love that. Guys, if you have any questions, let us know and put that in there. I'm going to ask you a couple others with.
Okay.
Um, so we talked about before we started recording today, before we went live, I was telling you about something that I've got coming up next week or next month that I haven't even shared yet. It's something that I'm being recognized for in the Carolinas, which is exciting. And I was trying to say, how do I kind of promote myself without sounding boastful? Because it's uncomfortable for me. And I think a lot of it is kind of letting go of what other people think. which you think you can let go of until something like that comes up and it's a new layer and you're like, oh, that bugs me. So tell me what you think about that. Like, what was your response? It was so smart.
Yeah. This is a great question because a lot of people go through this. So, to sum up what's happening, Jen was nominated for an award and is not comfortable having any sort of like braggy energy. And I get that's most of us. Hopefully, that's most of us. We don't want to come across as egocentric and all of that. So, the way to talk about that is to celebrate the organization and
Mhm.
talk about how you are in alignment with what they stand for. That does a couple of things, right? It informs your audience about the exciting news that's going on because that is exciting. That's amazing. You should be celebrating that. It also informs your audience on what your values are and what you stand for. If you're talking about how you're aligned with what this organization believes in, that is information that your audience can
Mhm.
take on and say, oh, okay, cool. I know what she's all about. So think about it that way. If you don't want to get online and talk about yourself, which is most people, they, at least in the older generations, we're not really into that. Talk about the things and the opportunities and what they stand for and how that aligns with you and inform people of what's going on. You know, you deserve to be celebrated. Very excited for you.
You. Thank you. All right, more to come. I'll get out of my own way on that one. And I'll tell you guys, like I went last week. Last week we did this masterclass, wrapped it up. I forgot to talk about next week's guest, which was you, Whitney. And so before I really got into analysis paralysis or became perfectionist about anything, I recorded a quick video, uploaded onto LinkedIn about how I messed up and this is what we're doing. And I tagged her. You guys, I know that may sound so elementary for a lot of you on here because I know a lot of you are a little more advanced, but I hadn't done that. I hadn't gone live and just like shown myself like that, spur of the moment, non-scripted. Here's what we're doing. And I didn't want to let the opportunity get missed to promote Whitney for this week because I think everyone can agree that this is incredible information. Um, and one of the things that I've learned about creating visibility or getting out of your own way is like the more you do it, the more breadcrumbs of evidence you create that like you can get uncomfortable and it still works. And the more you do it, the less uncomfortable it gets. So public speaking is a great example because Whitney can tell you she really, really, guys, encouraged me to get out of my own way and get up on stages. And it was horrifying, terrifying, nerve-wracking to me at first. And it continued to be, but a little less so every time. And last year, I think I did about 40 appearances, 40 speaking engagements.
Amazing.
And yeah, well, thank you. A lot of it is because of your encouragement. Um, and it was less uncomfortable every single time. And it's like, keep doing things until it's no longer uncomfortable for you because it's things that are unfamiliar that make us squirm,
Yeah.
right?
Can I speak to that really quickly?
Yes, please.
I probably should start conversations out with this. There is a giant misconception that you are born with confidence or not born with it. Confidence is a skill set. And what I want to reassure the people in the audience who may be a little more introverted, some of the best speakers in the world are introverts. Most of my clients are introverts. But confidence is a skill set, and it is the idea of being able to keep promises to yourself. And I mean that in every second of your day. If you have promised yourself that you're going to get up at 6:30, take care of your body, get all this stuff done before you get in front of a computer, and you hit the snooze button, that might seem like a micro thing, but that is a promise that you haven't kept to yourself. And it erodes self trust. The more you can say, like, I really want to do this, I really want to speak more, I'm going to apply, the more you build self trust and that evidence, right? We just get so much evidence that suddenly the pendulum swings and we're like, oh yeah. And let me tell you this too. I do PR and speaking for a living. I get rejected all the time. Like, but it's a muscle I've worked. Like, I don't care. I don't take it personally. It's like just moving on. So I tell you that to say, make a commitment to do one outreach a day for a visibility opportunity. That muscle will build, and suddenly you'll start seeing evidence of the things that you do get and the opportunities that you do have. And you're gonna be like, oh, wow, this feels really good. But at the end of the day, like your confidence in anything is reliant on you being able to show up for yourself, and it gets easier and easier and easier. And yeah, I mean, your speaking stuff is such a great example. Jen was so terrified to speak publicly a few years ago. And the fact that she spoke 40 times last year, I mean, tells you everything you need to know about her persistence. And it's just incredible. And it's like one of my favorite stories about showing up because you showed up for yourself. And the other reality of that is you showed up for everybody who needed you and would never have known that they needed you had you not had the courage to stand up in that room. So, what is the thing that you can do today to show up for yourself and others for? I think is such a great question. And sometimes it is just turning the camera on and starting a live. Like that's a lot. That's a big audience. It's the whole world.
Right.
Like do it and do it again and again and again until it becomes boring. Like that's the trick.
Right. Yes. Yes.
So,
The joke that I always have, because I was terrified of public speaking, and I wasn't always, but they're just, getting into this decade, I guess it was something that I really steered away from. Um, but one of the things I always joke about is like, I did it 4 times and I didn't die once. I
right,
make all these cold calls and I get rejected all the time,
right.
but I didn't die once. I'm reading The Gap and the Gain for like the billionth time right now. And one of the things that they say that I cannot hear it enough is that the people who fail the most are the people who are winning the most,
100%.
right?
100%. Yeah.
And that's back to Sarah Blakely. I love that her dad always made people talk at the dinner table about what they fail at because it meant that they
Hmm.
tried for something that
Yes.
day.
And on that note, like if you are trying for something, I really encourage you to share that journey back
Mhm.
to we're out of the era of the guru and into authenticity. Sharing the journey alone with your social media followers or your news list or your colleagues is so empowering. It There's an accountability piece there that's amazing, but also like people want to see you win. So if you're not like at the top of your mountain yet, that's totally fine. Share the journey on the way up there because I promise once you get to the top of that mountain, there will be another one. So share it and utilize the people that love you and the people that need your services.
I love that. You see people doing that all the time with fitness journeys, right?
Mhm.
And lifestyle changes and evolutions. And so just encourage someone to do that in business as well. I really love
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I'm gonna
Great way to
I'm
think
gonna
about it.
challenge myself to do that. So thank you, because that's something
Yeah.
to definitely show up for. Thank you
Awesome.
so
Thank
very much.
you.
Before I
Um,
forget again this week, I want to tell you guys about next week. We have Kim Woods joining us. She is a master astrologer and she helps people make decisions by reading their star charts and understanding their stars. So I really encourage you to be a part of that. It is an unbelievable story that she has to share, and her knowledge about astrology is like off the charts. Haha. Okay, so lame. But Kim's amazing. Whitney, you are amazing. Thank you so much for being here, but more importantly, for being who you are and just showing up the way you
Thank you.
do for everybody. For
Thank you.
everybody. I wish, I say this about you and so many of people kind of in our peer group, like if we could all be like this, like women specifically, you guys, if we could all be like this, it just
Yeah,
we would take it over.
yeah.
It's all about collaboration over competition
That's
and
right.
really, really cheering each other on, celebrating each other's
Right.
wins with the same enthusiasm. And you do that. And I appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here. To everyone else, thank you, and we will see you next week. Have the best day ever.